Finally, I've written this memoir as an ode to the thousands of executives, staff, and franchise owners, past and present, who have built this wonderful business. It was their adaptability, courage, and genius that made Dunkin' Donuts a legendary and dominant global brand. This book is organized into 6 distinct eras spanning my 35 years at the helm, each revealing our unique response to the swiftly morphing conditions around us. Every chapter starts with an overview of events, followed by reflections on those events through 4 lenses. The first is strategy. Strategy is the controlling plan that sets out what an enterprise wishes to be, what it wishes to achieve, and the most important action steps it needs to take to marshal scarce resources in the achievement of its mission and objectives. The second lens is organization, which deals with the recruitment, retention, and motivation of the appropriate staff to achieve the strategy. The third is communication, the aim of which is to align all constituents enthusiastically behind the achievement of the strategy. The fourth and final category I call crisis management, where I parse the issues that posed either a threat or opportunity to the enterprise, requiring the attention of the CEO. In my experience, these are the 4 critical functions of an effective CEO. Each chapter wraps with a lessons learned section. Unfortunately, not all of these were learned when they could have been most useful. But after due reflection on 3.5 decades at the helm of a dynamically growing business, 6 years teaching as an adjunct in the graduate program of a leading entrepreneurial college, and decades as a board member of several well-known food service companies, I've become convinced of the worth of this counsel. Era 1, 1963 to 68. Halcyon Days. Background. On a beautiful sunny June day in 1963, I had a conversation with my father, William Rosenberg, that would change the trajectory of my life. At the time, I was a newly minted MBA, just 25 years old, barely 2 weeks post-graduation from Harvard Business School. On that life-changing day, my 47-year-old father asked me to become president of his business, Universal Food Systems, a daunting responsibility for more reasons than you might guess. He sat me down in his office, slipping immediately into full sales mode. "Look," he said, "I've observed you over the years, and whether it be school, camp, or the Army, you've always come out on top, a leader. And I'm sure you can do this as well." Wonderful words to hear from my dad. Still, I took a huge breath and asked for some time to think. Universal Food Systems. Universal Food Systems comprised a portfolio of 8 small food service divisions with annual revenues of $6 million and earnings of $93,000. Up until that point of my life, the only thing I had managed were a couple of donut shops, replacing managers for their summer vacations, and a short stint supervising a cafeteria. My father's request was breathtaking and anxiety-producing, but not all that surprising. A few months previous, while still in business school, I had accompanied him to a meeting in New York City where he was trying to sell the business to a small private equity investor for $1.5 million. He quickly passed on our offer. I had the distinct impression that this prospective New York buyer was only one of many who had already passed on the deal. My father's one goal, the sale of the enterprise that would become Dunkin' Donuts, was to be a millionaire after taxes. An 8th grade dropout and product of the Depression, my father had seen his father lose his small market in Boston to bankruptcy during the Depression of the 1930s. These are trials I had not gone through, so I could only imagine how they must have scarred him, as well as shaped every decision he made. I loved and respected my dad. I had sought his approval.